Wow, happy Tuesday. Seems like we're turning into a banana republic. Seems like the Democrats are going after the GOP in spades. I got two stories here. One of them you probably clicked on, the other one you probably don't really care. But you should care. You have Democrats going after the GOP through legal means. I don't remember seeing anything like this at this scale any time in my life. I think the only thing that came close was Nixon, but I wasn't born yet. So we're going to start with Michigan, because it's Michigan. This is from NBC News. Michigan Attorney General announces charges against false electors. Now it's my understanding that these electors were legal. This is a legal procedure during elections, unless I'm misinterpreting it, unless I am wrong here. It's the same thing that they're going after Trump in Georgia as having electors. You have to have your electors ready in order, well, in case you win that state, if my understanding is correct. Unless there's something I'm missing here. Michigan Attorney General Dana Nelson announced Tuesday that she has filed charges against 16 people who signed paperwork falsely claiming that the president, Donald Trump, won the 2020 election as part of a scheme to overturn the results. U.S. presidents are technically voted in by the states of electors from each state who cast their vote by the candidates selected by their state's popular vote in December 2020. As Trump tried to overturn the results of the elections, his allies read the alternative states of electors in several states. You don't think Hillary Clinton didn't do this? You don't think Joe Biden didn't do this? They have to be ready when they get the results in to say, we vote for Trump, or we vote for Hillary, we vote for Joe Biden, we vote for fill in the blank. That's the way I understand it. Now, I could be wrong. There could be something more to this that I don't know. These appears to be the first charges filed against fake electors. The announcement came the same day Trump said that he has been notified that he is the target of an investigation by the Washington-based grand jury examining the January 6th protest, riot, unauthorized entry of the Capitol, and efforts to overturn the 2020 election. The 16 people being charged in Michigan allegedly met in the basement of the state Republican Party headquarters and signed multiple certificates claiming that they were the duly elected qualified electors for the president and vice president of the United States of America for the state of Michigan, Nelson said in a recorded remarks. That was a lie. They weren't duly elected or qualified electors, and each of them, of the defendants, knew it. She continued. Some of the electors attempted to deliver these false documents to the state Senate. I think this is where the crime happens, is that they actually try to deliver it, but they were turned away. She said the documents were later sent to U.S. Senate and the National Archives with the intent that the Vice President Pence will overturn the results of the election using the fake electoral slate. Nestle says the false electors are being charged with 8 felonies, counts each, including forgery. False elector actions undermine the public's faith and integrity of our elections and do not only violate the spirit of the laws enshrining and defending our democracy, but we believe it painfully violates the law in which we administer our elections in Michigan and peacefully transfer our power in America. Let's see here. The 16 individuals include Michigan GOP co-chair Mashawn Maddock, and State Republican National Committee woman Kathy Burden. Michelle Lunderman, who was also charged, previously told local television station WDIV that she thought she was signing an attendance sheet for the meeting. She did not know that She didn't even know what an elector was, let alone a fake elector, she told the station. Maddox, Burton, and Wallen did not immediately respond to requests for comment Tuesday. Nestle had previously referred to the case of Michigan's 16 electors to the Department of Justice, but Bridge, Michigan reported earlier that this year she was reopening her investigation because federal authorities haven't filed charges yet. Nevada Attorney General Democrat Harold Ford declined to prosecute the fake electors in that state, while Georgia prosecutors investigating Trump and his allies was told false electors they could face criminal charges. My understanding of this is how elections work. Now I do get the most important part. Let's see here. If this is true, some of the electors attempted to deliver the false documents to the state Senate, but were turned away, and they were tried to later send them to the U.S. Senate. I can see how that could be a crime. But you have your electors available ahead of time, I don't think is a crime. Then, of course, we got probably what you're wanting is the DOJ targeted letter comes as no surprise for members of January 6 panels. Tuesday news that the federal investigators have notified the former President Trump of potential criminal charges with his efforts to retain power after his 2020 defeat, and captivated Washington, roiled with the 2024 presidential race, has sparked an outcry from Trump's GOP allies on and off the Capitol Hill, but lawmakers who spent the better part of the last 2 years investigating January 6, 2021 attack on the Capitol, Trump's roles in it, the development came to no surprise. But he was impeached for this, and he was acquitted by the Senate. It would be no surprise to me that at least if Donald Trump were the target of criminal investigation based on everything that he did and everything that the whole world knows he did, Rep. Jamie Raskin. Dude, you got cancer. You might as well just retire. I mean, I'm not trying to say cancer people can't work. I'm just saying that's who I think it is. It's political game. It's political game. It's a hacky sack game. That's all I have to say for right now. A member of the select committee who investigated the rampage said Tuesday the January 6th select committee spent roughly 18 months during the last Congress investigating the Capitol attack, interviewed more than 1,000 witnesses, and airing its findings in a string of explosive public hearings before delivering the results to the Department of Justice. Based on those findings, members of the investigation panel suggest that the formal criminal charge for DOJ would be an obvious next step. If it was so obvious, why didn't the Senate convict Donald Trump? If 100 senators could not convict Donald Trump, there is no crime here. I don't think there's any question that the committee at the end of our work believed that Donald Trump had something to do with it. Rep. Bernie Thompson, Democrat, Mississippi, who also chaired the 9-member select committee, said that the violent attempt to block Congress from certifying Trump's defeat, so for him to receive a target letter is not something that would be a surprise. Hours earlier, Trump announced that he received a so-called target letter on Sunday, informing that he's become a person of interest in the DOJ January 6th investigation, which being led by Special Counsel Jack Smith. Such adversaries are typically delivered ahead of an indictment, and Trump on Tuesday blasted the investigation as a political witch hunt. This is to get Trump to drop out of the election. None of these cases are going to go to trial until after the election. If Donald Trump wins the election, these cases are dropped. If he loses the elections, these cases may move forward Or if he drops out, maybe some of these charges go away. I think someone made a claim that he's going to take a plea deal. He's going to plead guilty and spend no time in prison, but drop out of the election. I don't know if that's something that's on the horizons. I don't know. We got probably about 6 months, 8 months. No, about 6 months until the primaries. Let's see, Republicans have hammered the DOJ in the wake of the news, rushing to Trump's defense with amplified claims that the DOJ has been weaponized under President Biden to go after the presidential political adversaries. In their telling, Trump has become a target solely because he is the front runner of the GOP nomination in the next year presidential contest. Recently, President Trump went up in polls and was actually surpassing President Biden for re-election. Speaker Kevin McCarthy, Republican California, told reporters Tuesday. So what do they do now? They weaponize the government to go after their number one opponent. In the days after the Capitol attack, McCarthy has said that Trump bears responsibility for the actions of the mob rioters, but quickly made amends with the former president who helped McCarthy win the Speaker's gavel this year. It's unclear what charges Smith's team might be weighing against Trump. Investigators in recent weeks have reportedly been meeting with a host of Trump's former attorneys, aides, and legal advisors, including those who have been most aggressively publicizing the false claim of a stolen 2020 election. Members of the Select Committee said that they are confident that the DOJ diligence if the agency does eventually bring charges. Their track record has been solid when it comes to prosecutions, and we expect that the target letter and the work of the grand jury continues to do will meet with the threshold of seeking the facts and holding people accountable no matter where they are. And no matter who they are, said Rep. Pete Aguilar, Democrat, California, and other members of the investigation panels. Let's see here. Is there any more? Let's see here. January 6th committee delivered the findings to the DOJ, had recommended 4 separate charges against Trump: obstructing the official government proceeding, conspired to defraud the U.S. government, inciting an insurrection, and conspiracy to make false statements. I think that's a First Amendment violation. Ordinarily, if you are to get a targeted letter, you're indicted, said Rep. Zoe Lofgren, Democrat, California. Another member of the Select Committee, I'm interested in what the charges will be. So far, the only individual rioters have been held accountable. Lofgren continued, I think it's important that the accountability not be just for the foot soldiers, but for the generals who designed this. Like Ray Epps, like Nancy Pelosi. I don't know if I've actually found a satisfying answer why Nancy Pelosi declined to have National Guard deployed there. Visitor Thompson said the committee went out of his way to keep its distance from the separate DOJ investigation, knowing that the panel had refused to share any of its findings with the administration while the congressional probe was still open. There was an effort to get some of the material before we finish, and we resisted because we didn't want to be part of the politics of our committee and the DOJ, Thompson said. We wanted to separate our challenge and our charge, and that's what we did. Thomas also said he had no communication with the DOJ investigators, and since his Select Committee turned its finding over to the agency and disbanded at the end of last year, we're out of business, he says. We're out of business. Michelle Chanel contributed reporting. It's a witch hunt. Seems like the Democrats are using bogus claims to go after their opponents because they know that Biden is struggling. They know that Harris isn't really presidential material. So they have to bring up these cases against their political rivals. Now, the one with these electorals, it could be the fact that they tried to pass them off as real electorals on the Senate floor, but were dismissed and tried to send them to the U.S. Senate. There could be some case there, but you don't think the Democrats don't do this shenanigans as well? It's just, it's front page news because it's Donald J. Trump. Because he was the candidate. So they're letting these things be known out to the public, and I'm sure this is normal. And that's the frustrating part. I don't think he's the only candidate that had quotations faked electors. I think every candidates have their electors in place in case they do win. But now it's an issue. At least that's how I've been interpreting the news about these electorals. Each candidates have their electorals. But I could be wrong. It's not the first time I was wrong. With that being said, that is my video for today. That being said, have yourself a wonderful day, morning, or evening.